Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the Micflayers podcast, coming to you from inside an egg, a rare egg, a dragon egg. And the egg's in a hoard, the hoard's in the cave, the cave's in the bogs, and the bog's down in the valley. I'm your host, Conor O'Brien, and joining me as always is my co-host, Mr. Martin O'Dwyer.
Do you know what? Well done. Well done with that one. I actually liked that one. That was good.
I thought of that like 10 days ago.
The rattling egg.
Yeah. How are you today, buddy?
I'm very tired because I went out last night for Halloween.
I know, I passed you on the street, you were dressed up as Hercules.
I was, and I was very cold. Because Hercules is Greek, so he has the benefit of Greek weather.
Yeah.
I'm not, and I had to deal with Irish October weather. Thankfully no rain, but yeah, the Hercules costume was basically just a dress with a cape. So I had a pair of compression shorts on, then I had regular shorts on over that, and then I also had a vest on underneath my Hercules shirt. So yeah. It was like, oh god, I wasn't too bad, but the thing that was more annoying than the cold was every second person coming up to me going, "Are you not freezing?"
Not even asking about your costume, they're just literally like, "Hey, are you cold?"
Would just literally look me up and down and go, "Are you not freezing?" Like, not really, But then after the fifth time, I was like, stop. But yeah, no, I'm doing good. I'm very excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today because it's awesome.
Absolutely. We don't have much in the way of news with our own, unless you have any news with your campaign. Ours has been on a bit of a hiatus for a couple of weeks there. But have you any interesting stories going on with your campaign at the moment?
We also just took a 2-week hiatus just for scheduling conflicts. Unfortunately, the greatest challenge monster in D&D is scheduling conflicts.
Yeah, it's a CR 100 monster, and it's immune to all damage.
Yeah, and all conditions as well.
Yeah, and it has an AC of 60.
Because it's real life, and you can't hit it.
Yeah, unfortunately, so that's fair enough. I was hoping you'd have something, because like I said, we're kind of on the precipice of something in our current game. You guys have recently busted out of prison, or you weren't in prison, but the other three were. You busted them out after you had a botched train heist, and the Empire captured your companions, and threw them in jail and tortured them for a week. Then you managed to break them out, and now you're kind of deciding where you're going to go next. And I think the consensus is that you're going to head north to try and find out what happened to the Elven rebels, which is kind of a thing that's on the way to your main goal, because you've lost touch with them, and you think the Empire might have attacked them with an airship and wiped them out potentially. And then the main goal then is to go a bit beyond that to the mountains, to the Gothfell Peaks, where Wabu, who has this adamantine ring on his finger and is currently occupying a spell slot, an attunement slot. He's hoping that the earth elemental energies in the ring, along with the earth elemental energies in the mountain, might have some sort of reaction and help him get it off his hand. Because currently there's a very cool magic helmet that he wants to wear that he's unable to do so.
Yeah, it would be super useful as well if he couldn't get mind controlled anymore. Because I don't want to fight him.
Yeah, he's basically a turtle shaped blender. With just sword attacks galore.
Turtle power indeed.
Yeah. and yeah, so that's it. I think the only kind
he's
of
Leonardo with Raphael's temperament and Michelangelo's intelligence.
Yeah, pretty much actually. And yeah, I think the only kind of outlying factor is how you guys are going to get there, because there was a bit of a back and forth on, will we travel by road? It'll take a full week for us to get there on the road, even with our carriage and horses and stuff, or will we try and steal one of the Empire's airships, because the rebels or the resistance that we're working with are kind of up for helping us if we want to do that. And I think you guys are going to try and lynch one of the steal. Cinch. Yeah. I think I was thinking of the word cinch, but that also doesn't make sense. You're going to try and steal one of the airships and make away with it. I'm
excited about it, but also worried because we just tried to rob an orb before and that went terribly wrong. Now it's an airship. But yeah, no, I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Fine.
Yeah.
100%.
It's
no, nothing will go wrong. It'll be great.
Yeah, you might want to knock on wood.
I'm pretty sure that's MDF, but it'll do.
MDF is wood.
It's okay. Yeah, I suppose it's just like yeah.
It's just wood fibers. But yeah, that's so I'm looking forward to that. That is we're playing that this week. Hopefully it'll go well. I think it'll be a very exciting session. I have some stuff prepped. The good thing about having a couple of weeks off when it comes to D&D is that you have time to prep things, and you can be like, wow, I can actually catch up and breathe for a second.
Yeah.
And the downside is that you don't get to play D&D.
Yeah. I realized that because when we rescheduled, because I think it's like we're playing early next week, and I was like, that's technically 3 weeks waiting to play D&D. Like going through withdrawals. But yeah, no, that I'm just super down. I really just want to get further into the story again now, and hit our stride again, because we've had like some break weeks and stuff like that every so often, and the story's been awesome so far. So I just wanted to see it continue. On my game then, they're in like the early parts, like second session of a new arc. And they've currently found themselves, after being transported through some kind of storm portal, inside this giant floating castle, and everyone in the village that they came to investigate seemingly has been teleported into a room in the dungeon of this castle, where they are all asleep behind a barrier of crackling electricity that doesn't seem to be able to be dispelled.
Interesting.
Like a specific thing. And then when they looked out, they saw all these like giant floating castles off in the distance. So next session is going to be them exploring all that, but it does also start with them fighting a clockwork behir.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. I feel like there's all the floating castles and stuff. There's definitely like a Kingdom Hearts reference to be made. Like, is it? I've not played them. Is it The World That Never Was, or is it Hollow Bastion? One of them has floating castles. I don't know.
It's The World That Never Was. Yeah.
World That Never Was. Okay, cool.
I think both maybe. It's been a while since I played Kingdom Hearts 1.
Either way, I made a reference to Kingdom Hearts. My fiance would be very proud of me.
She would. Simple and clean.
Yeah. Right, today we are talking about a brand new book. We talked about this previously when it was announced and some of the UA material that came out with it. Finally, we actually have it, and this of the 3 books we're getting in the latter half of this year, this was easily the one I was looking forward to the most. Not to undersell the other ones. We had Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which had some very cool stuff in it, and we're still waiting. I think next month, in late November, we're getting Strixhaven.
Yes.
But just the other day we got Fizban's Treasury of Dragons officially released, a limited edition cover of which I am waiting on soon. But yeah, I've had a flick through it. I've not got a chance to delve into the heavy lore of the book, and there is a lot of lore when it comes to dragons in this book. They literally have sections on every type of dragon, right down to dragon turtles. Which I love, because I think dragon turtles are awesome.
They're included. I absolutely love it. Oh god, and like we probably get around to it when we're talking about the bestiary. We get around to it.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's some absolutely fantastic. There's some additional, but I suppose you call them dragon subclasses maybe, because they're now divided. Instead of just being Dragonborn that can pick a single ancestry, they are now divided into. Stop it, window.
Chromatic, Gem, and Metallic.
They're divided into Chromatic, Gem, and Metallic, yeah. Whereas previously it was just, you are a Dragonborn, pick a lineage, from this list of like 8 or whatever it was. But I love that there's now a proper subclasses of them and stuff like that. Then we have new feats, we have 2 new classes, we have magic items, we have horde magic items, which are slightly different but very interesting. Draconic gifts, and then just an absolute boatload of in the bestiary, even absolute boatload of new dragon type creature stat blocks, or these things that resemble dragons in some way, which is just
after even just like 1 or 2 looks through the bestiary, I like my first run through looking at it, I was like, I'm going to add this to my campaign and this to my campaign, and this fits perfectly for a rumor I said came from this one area.
Yeah, honestly there's some stuff in here now that are just like everything from all your various gem dragons. There's aspects of both Bahamut and Tiamat,
and those are some chunky stat blocks. Holy shit.
I would actually like to have a look. We haven't got anything for Bahamut ever, I don't think. I would like to compare that aspect of Tiamat maybe a little while to the Tiamat stat block from what was the very first adventure?
Descent into Avernus, or Horde of the Dragon Queen.
It's sorry, I'm wrong. It's after Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Tyranny of Dragons.
Tyranny of Dragons, I think. Yes.
I'm just throwing out every title I know with dragon in it. To be honest, Connor.
Yes, I think if this was the first. I think yes, you're right. Horde of the Dragon Queen was the first one. This picks up immediately. It's Rise of Tiamat. Ugh, her name is in the title.
Oh, that's the one I did. That's the one I didn't say. Ugh.
There is a stat block for Tiamat herself in that, and it's honestly, I don't know how anyone but a 20th level party could ever conceivably fight this thing. It is on average, so if you just take the average hit points as this thing has normally, 615.
Yeah.
And then an armor class of 25. It has 30 strength, 30 con, 28 charisma, 26 in both int and wisdom. Its lowest skill is dex, which is a 10.
The aspect right off the bat has lower stats, I think, on certain areas.
I guess it's meant to be an aspect of her. So like a what you call it, like a representation of her spirit in the world, like an avatar, yeah. But not necessarily her in her final form, so to speak. If you're looking at it there, what's the challenge rating?
Okay, for the aspect of Tiamat, it is CR30.
That's CR30 for this one as well. Interesting.
Yeah, but I have a question. Does that Tiamat have mythic actions?
No, but
this one does.
What she does have is she can make
How did I miss this when I was looking at that stat block?
She makes 2 claw attacks, and she makes 1 bite or 1 tail attack, and then she has 5 legendary actions, and all of her legendary actions are breath weapons.
Yeah, this one is slightly different. So you can do with the aspect of Tiamat in this. You can do, obviously there's multi attack. So it's 1 bite, 1 claw, and 1 tail, and they all hit pretty hard. Like the bite does 3d12 additional force damage for some reason. Let's see. The claw is a grapple with a DC 20 to escape it, and you're restrained.
Ooh, okay. What's the damage on the claw?
2d10 plus 10 slashing damage. If the target is a huge or smaller creature, it is then grappled. It's got plus 19 to hit and a reach of 15 feet.
19 and 15 here as well. It's 4d6 plus 10, so not on average maybe more on this one, but not by much. Not a huge difference.
Here's where it gets different though, because I'd imagine your thing with that team, at their legendary actions are like 5 legendary actions, 1 for each head where it breathes fire.
Well, so what it is you have 5 legendary actions. You can use 1 to make a single bite attack, and then it will depending on what head is doing the biting. You will take, so it can potentially make 5 of these bite attacks.
Yeah. And
you'll take 4d10 plus 10 slashing. That should probably be piercing if it's a bite attack anyway. And then 4d6 of the subsequent damage type. So potentially all 5 of her heads can make an attack in a round. Not on her turn. She gets 3 attacks her own anyway. But then if you want to, you can spend 2 actions. Remembering now she has 5, so you can spend 2 actions to make a breath weapon from any of those heads. So you could potentially make 2 breath weapon attacks a round, a round. And the thing is, there's no recharge on that. They just take legendary actions, which she gets back at the start of her next top of the thing. So you're talking about, for example, Black Dragon head, DC 27 dexterity saving throw, or take 15d8 acid. Mm-hmm. And then Green Dragon, DC 27 con, or take 22d6 poison.
Oof. This one is same thing, like 300-foot cone of multicolored flames. Each creature in that area DC 27 dex save, and on a failed save they take 11d12 damage of a type of the aspects choosing acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison.
That's a lot more trimmed down, but probably a lot more manageable as well, because there's a lot to read on this stat block. It's really heavy. Where
the aspect to Tiamat gets particularly nutty is when you've whittled that 574 hit points down to 0. She has an ability called Chromatic Wrath.
I've seen this. This is insane.
So Chromatic Wrath recharges after a short to long rest. If the aspect of it reduces 0 hit points, her current hit point total resets to 500 hit points. She recharges her Chromatic Flames, and she regains any expended uses of legendary resistance. Additionally, the aspect can also now use the options in the mythic options section for the next hour. award the party an additional 155,000 XP for dealing the aspect of Tiamat after her Chromatic Wrath. So that's an additional, so that's altogether that'll be like 400,000 XP if you're doing XP for just this aspect of Tiamat, and then its mythic actions are nutty.
Well, no,
Sorry, 300,000. It'd be like 310,000.
310 if you defeat her after she gets into this form.
Yeah.
I think mythic actions are one of the best things.
They're so cool, but they scare me so much.
I kind of wish a few lore, because they're just great for boss battles. To be like, you reduce this thing to 0, but now it again. I think about this up before. It's literally the Final Fantasy thing of this is my final form. You could describe the aspect of Tiamat as growing and having all these additional scales or spines pop out of her, and her eyes start bleeding the energy type associated with her, or something like that. I think they're really, really cool.
But like the two mythic actions she gets from this though are crazy. The first one's called Hurl Through Avernus, and it costs 2 actions. Aspect targets a creature she's grappling. The creature must succeed on a DC 25 Charisma save, or take 8d10 psychic damage and be banished to Avernus. At the start of their next turn, the aspect's next turn, the creature reappears in an occupied space within 10 feet of the aspect.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure in one of the what's it called? Mortal Kombat games, I'm pretty sure Scorpion had some form of finisher like that, where he would take someone and throw them through a hell portal, and then they'd appear out of another portal on the opposite side, and they'd just be like burnt to a crisp and fall over or something like that.
Yeah. He had a lot of stuff like that. He used to do one where he'd throw the chain and the chain with the spearhead into someone. The spear into someone, and he would spinning back kick them through a fiery portal, and then another one would appear higher up on the stage, and they'd come out of that one hanging from it. It was messed up but awesome. And then the last one, the one that costs the most mythic actions, is Chromatic Flare. Costs 3 actions. The aspect flares elemental energy. Each creature of the aspect's choice in a 60-foot radius sphere, which is nuts. Centered on her, must make a DC 27 Dex saving throw. On a failed save, they take 60-12 damage of a chosen type by the aspect: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Ow.
Okay, so that's the same as the chromatic thing, similar to the chromatic thing above, the chromatic flames ability, but it's a radius effect instead of you doing a cone. By the way, the chromatic flames thing is 300
foot cone.
So basically, you can just incinerate or melt a village in a single breath. That's insane.
Yeah. It's so good. And obviously it's a gargantuan creature as well, so it's absolutely massive.
That's one of those things where that would almost never come up, the fact that it's 300 foot range, but on I don't know, just the fact that it is that's the designers there now just going, this will never factor into a game. This will almost never be a feasible thing that they're trying to hit you with a cone from 300 feet away. But on the just for the sake of it, let's just make it an obscene number, so when people read this, they go, "Holy hell! The aspect of Tiamat is so powerful."
Yeah, that basically can just entirely encapsulate the giant castle of whatever city is it's in just gone.
300 feet is oh my god, it's a cone, so it's wide as well. So you're talking about literally just white, she could potentially breathe and freeze solid the entire docks of a large coastal city or something like that.
Yeah.
Freeze the harbor over just in an instant.
Just in one shot, incinerate all farmland around an area.
Yeah.
Oh god, man, it's so cool. Sure, I just can't. I don't even know when I'd put one. I think I might do a one shot when they're all level 20 and be like, "There's no story here. You're just gonna fight the aspect of Tiamat because I want to see how it works."
Yeah. I feel like this both this one and the other one are so you'd have to know what you're going up against, and you'd have to be consciously okay. We almost when in Critical Role when they fought Thordak, they knew that he was waiting. They knew our goal eventually is to kill this really, really big red dragon. So that's what we're working towards. You'd have to have that in mind for multiple sessions and gathering up potions of resistance and immunity and stuff like that.
Of like every elemental resistance.
That's the thing as well. At least with Thordak, you're like, okay, whatever fire resistance or fire immunities potions we can get, brilliant. But now you have to be like, you have to cover acid, cold, fire, lightning, and poison. And then you have to account for that for pretty much everyone on the team. Do you know what? This might be one of the very
claws
few
do
times.
force damage for some reason as well.
Yeah, actually, that's true. This might be one of those very few times where the fact that you're a ranger with a longbow and the sharpshooter feat, the 600-foot range may actually work in your benefit.
Just roll up with a firing squad of like rangers, arcane archers, and gunslingers, and then just continually move backwards.
I mean, but the aspect can also fly 120 feet around.
Yes. Yep.
Which is mental. Yes. So that's probably that's maybe the most prime example of an absolutely insane creature. We're gonna roll it back a little bit here. We're gonna talk about something else before we get back into the bestiary, because I feel like the bestiary is the thing we can absolutely spend the most time talking about. 1 second now. What I want to talk about is the classes, or the subclasses, I should say. Let's have a look here. Quick question for you there. What are we at time-wise?
21 minutes. Just almost 22.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to account for that. Because I just started my clock now because I'm that guy.
Okay.
Okay, so what I want to talk about is the two subclasses that we're working with here, because I think they're both so good. Like, one of them has turned me around entirely when it comes to rangers, because I love the concept of a ranger. I love the idea of a hunter in the wilds or a warrior of the frontier. I love that they are trained in tracking and hunting and all this stuff. And I think they're so good flavor wise. Obviously, for a long time, they were mechanically not the most sound class for a number of reasons. Not the least of which was the Beastmaster. But of course, with Tasha's, then we got a lot of optional class features that I think round them out a lot more nicely.
Yeah.
And now we have, and I feel like they're giving rangers the service that they deserve. You know. In that the new classes, or at least this new Drake Warden Ranger is one of the best subclasses I think I've seen in a while. Like across the entire spectrum.
It's really good. But like in terms of like mechanically powerful, but also just like story stuff as well. It's got such great options for storytelling and different plot lines and plot threads. You can just spindle off. Yeah, I'm a ranger with a dragon pet.
Yeah. Which I think is something that like people would have maybe taken Beastmaster, but
that's
okay,
what
as
everyone
per the rules,
who got a wyvern as a Beastmaster really wanted.
Exactly, yeah. I mean I tried when I played a ranger. I tried to do it. I tried to capture a wyvern because I'm like, I want a wyvern as a pet that I can ride into battle. And it didn't work for me, unfortunately. But I mean, that's kind of the dream when it comes to being when you're a ranger. I feel like, oh yeah, I have a hawk, or I have a wolf, or I have a badger. Badgers are savage, but a honey badger's not a savage.
Badgers also carry TB, but I don't know if that's put into their stat block.
It's like a con save when they bite you. But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like they're all the basic ones, and that's kind of what you expect if you're going for like maybe a low magic campaign. But I mean, if you're going to be the Beast Master, the idea is that at a certain point you will absolutely be riding in on a griffin or a wyvern or something like that. This one kind of, okay, I see what they were doing, and they were really giving rangers their due diligence here. I feel like this is a perfect addition to the roster of ranger classes. In my head, it kind of invalidates Beastmaster a little bit.
Because you can just reflavor whatever the Drake is into whatever. We were talking about this in our own D&D chat, but yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can quite easily reflavor a lot of this. Like, there's absolutely nothing to say that your thing has to be a dragon. You could just, like, I think the example we gave was, what if you chose a a winter wolf, because technically they're monstrosities. You can't normally tame them or whatever. Take a winter wolf though, because they have an actual cold breath ability, and just say, oh look, I have a winter wolf pup, and then he grows bigger, and then he has a cold breath ability, and that would be so cool
Do a
to
full
have.
like Jon Snow build.
Exactly, yeah, with a huge white wolf that follows you into battle. Super cool. The stat block for these guys as well is really good and well rounded. It levels up appropriately, I think, with you as a class, without being like too overpowered or anything like that. And yeah, and it's just it gets some great stuff. They do have some rules in here, which I like, and some which I'm like, I don't necessarily like that, but I get why. There's one here. So at 7th, so you get your at 3rd level, you get your Drake. They have decent stats, like I said. They scale up nicely with you, but they're a size small.
Yeah.
So it's more like you have a dog-sized dragon or something like that. Then at 7th level, you gain the ability for your Drake to grow to a medium size, which I think is super cool, because it's like, oh, time is passing, they're getting older. That's really awesome. You have a special bond. You can use your Drake as a mount at that point, if your size is medium or smaller. So they're kind of changing the rules a little bit. Typically, you would have to be a size large, like a horse would be or whatever, if you're a medium-sized creature. But they're allowing you to stretch the rules a little bit there. I like that. It means you don't have to play a halfling or a kobold or a gnome or something like that to be able to ride them. But then it says, while you're riding your Drake, it can't use its fly speed at all, which it gets at this level. So your Drake can fly and zoom around and stuff like that, but it cannot use its fly speed while you're doing it. And I get why, because fly speed can be really overpowered.
At level 7 as well.
Yeah, I mean, like most monsters and stuff, a lot of monsters don't have ranged attack abilities, or if they do, it's a case of, let's take giants for example. Giants can hit you twice with a hammer or a club or a sword or something like that, or they can throw one rock at you, you know. And it's a trade-off, but so a lot of monsters don't have the ability to attack multiple times in the air. So I get why we're not giving players the ability, because I think when I saw this in the UA, they didn't have that line in there, and I thought, it has a fly speed at level 11, so if I just play like a halfling Drake Warden, I can have a flying mount at level 7, or level 7, sorry. I can have a flying mount at level 7. So they've obviously put this line in here specifically to stop people from just playing a smaller race or something like that.
Because once you do have that flying mount, you're basically like an attack helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially if you play a ranger who's like an archer or something like that.
Multi-class Drake Ward with arcane archer and just wreak havoc from the skies.
Exactly, yeah. I did actually think when it comes to the mounting abilities, I thought it'd be cool to actually mix it up with Cavalier. So you can take a lance and ride in on a Drake into battle with a lance and shield.
Full on, cool. Like a dragoon, like.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah, and then they get some additional damage, and they get a resistance and stuff like that. It's not until...
And that resistance type is also dependent on whatever type you pick when you summon the creature too, because you can choose whatever, like fire, cold, lightning, acid...
Poison,
thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, but it's... and the thing is, actually, what's interesting is you can actually just do that each time, I believe, as well, right?
Yeah, each time it's summoned, you pick their type resistance type. So that's the damage it does with its breath and claws, and as well as whatever kind of damage it resists.
So it doesn't have to be a fixed thing either. Now, personally, I would probably keep it relatively fixed, because I like the idea of having a theme and sticking with it. But there's some serious flexibility there. If you say, I have a red Drake with a breath weapon, but now suddenly you're fighting fire elementals, well, I can't use a fire breath weapon on them. So go rocking with cold, you know?
You can choose any cosmetic issues, any cosmetic things for the Drake yourself, however you want to look like, like its color, scale, texture, any visible effect of its Draconic Essence. But the big thing here is whenever you summon the Drake, you choose the damage type listed in its Draconic Essence trait. You can determine. It's just whenever you summon it, basically.
Yeah, I think that's it's as an action to summon it to you, which is pretty cool. And actually, another thing that it really has as a great advantage over the Beastmaster is that when the Beastmaster, when your pet dies, I think there's now rules you can use to like
you can magically summon its spirit back.
Yeah. But with this, when it dies, it drops to 0 hit points. I think you can actually expend a spell slot, right? Once a Drake dies, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of first level or higher to summon it. So technically, if once it drops to 0, you can just on the next round spend an action on a spell slot and bring it back with full hit points again.
And maybe a different damage type that the monster you're fighting isn't resistant to.
Exactly, yeah. So even if you get caught off guard and you're like, oh, he's red today, and suddenly you're surprise attacked by fire elementals, you can be like, oh, he dropped to 0 hit points, that's fine. I'll bring him back now, and he's going to have lightning or cold or something like that.
I'd love the idea of like a Prism Drake, where like, which is basically what this thing is, where like it just decides and changes color and changes adaptation. It's like a chameleon dragon. That
and because of the cosmetic side of things, you can totally skin it that way. Yeah.
Oh, that would be so cool.
With the kind of with the beady eyes and everything, where they're flicking around all over the place.
I had one for a while. They're awesome animals.
I'm trying to figure what level is it again. PowerPoint. Ah, yes, okay. So it's not until 15th level where it gets to the thing Large Drake. It grows to a size large, and when you ride the Drake, it is no longer prohibited from using its flying speed from the bond of Fang and Scale. So you have to go 15 levels into the class, which is a lot, but I feel like that's super rewarding.
You're kind of skipping over something I thought was really cool as well, which is the 11th level feature, Drake's Breath, which allows you to breathe Dragon Breath.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. Just fucking, like, you could absolutely just, like, flank one person, you and the Drake, and both of you just breathe different types of, like, Dragon Breath at them.
Yeah.
Ah, so cool.
As an action, you can extend a 30-foot cone, which is no small feat either.
30-foot cone is massive.
Yeah, it's enormous. You choose the damage type. The choice doesn't have to match your Drake's current thing. Yeah. So that's actually that's another chunk of flexibility there for you, because you don't have to. If your Drake is a certain thing, you can choose to do something else and just get a bit more flexibility on it. Each creature, or for example, if you had your Drake summoned as red, but you were like a blue Dragonborn or something like that. Even though he's fire, you can breathe lightning if you want, which is nice.
And if you were to like double down on your dragonness with this, you could like pick a Dragonborn. Like you have a Dragonborn, so then depending on what kind of Dragonborn you pick, you could potentially have 2 breath weapons. And then you go into 11 levels into Drake Warden, and now you have access to any chromatic breath weapon you want. So you have 3 breath weapons now, and one of them does like actual dragon damage.
There's something I'm looking at here. The damage on this is 8d6, which is crazy, and then it jumps to 10d6 at 15th level.
Yes.
You can only use this once, but you can expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use it again. Otherwise, you get it back on a long rest. Again, I love that. This is the thing, and I was going to bring it up in a while when we talk about the feats, I believe, as well. We're seeing this a lot more where things that used to be like you can do this once a day and it recharges on a short rest or long rest or something like that can now be fueled by other things. For example,
it's very
we'll get to it in a minute.
It's very sorcery points. I like it.
Yeah, and it just gives a bit of flexibility because like, look, I have these other resources. It's maybe not the exact currency you would expect me to spend on this, but if I have it there, why can't I expend some magic just to do it again? Which I think works perfectly well.
Totally.
But yeah, I think Drake Warden is possibly one of the coolest subclasses we've gotten in a very, very long time. I absolutely adore it. I'm like this of all the subclasses we got in Tasha's and in Xanathar's and everything. Like when I first played, there was only the player handbook. Yeah, so I was playing. I was playing Beastmaster, and I changed it over to Hunter. And I had fun. I honestly have some fond memories of playing that character and stuff. And it's fun to be an archer and shoot things from a million miles away. But at the same time, I have never wanted to go back to Ranger, because I felt like none of them ever really grabbed me much after that. But a combination of Tasha's and particularly this new subclass, I've never wanted to go back and play a Ranger more in my life.
Yeah, I think like the only thing prior to this that had kind of held my interest in Ranger would have been the Gloomstalker, just because I love the
great.
Thematics of the Gloomstalker. And yeah, it has some really fun abilities in there as well. But this is easily far and away the best Ranger subclass, like easily.
I love that there's are you looking at the art next to the Drake companion?
I was waiting for an appropriate time to mention it. It's so wholesome.
It is what looks like a kind of a black dragonborn who's hugging his green Drake companion, and the Drake is like licking his face and stuff like that. The caption is, "A dragonborn Drake Warden shares affection with her Drake companion." And it is super wholesome.
It's so adorable. They look so.
Yeah.
They both look so happy.
So some lizards have that thing that dogs kind of have, where their mouths are naturally shaped like smiles. So if they just have their mouth open, they look like they're happy and smiling.
I had a leopard gecko for a long time called Smog. Smog,
Yes.
sorry, and he was like. Google them if you're listening to this. Google them. They literally look like Disney characters. They're the most ridiculously adorable lizards you'll ever see.
And then we have the other subclass,
Yes.
which is honestly, it's funny because the
Iron
Drake.
Fist, the subclass.
Say again.
Iron Fist, the subclass.
Yeah, it's okay. So if the Beastmaster or if the Drake Warden makes the Beastmaster obsolete, then this Way of the Ascendant Dragon kind of makes the Elemental Monk obsolete.
That was like the first thing I thought when I read it. Also, before we
Yeah.
get started into this, can I just point out the amazing little Fizban quote that's at the top of this? My favourite Ascendant Dragon monks all narrate their bodily attacks with loud, fun onomatopoeias. Swish kapow, indeed.
Just above that, there's a fantastic piece of art actually as well.
Ooh, yes.
For Copper Dragonborn, readying her acid breath as foes approach. She kind of looks like a samurai warrior or something. That's really really awesome. But yeah, so the next subclass we have here is the Way of the Ascended Dragon. This came up in the UA as well. I don't think they've tweaked it massively from what it was in the UA, but I thought it was pretty.
I think I was watching a nerd immersion video, and I believe his exact quote was, "My boy, look what they did to my boy."
My boy is a box.
Sorry, I was not ready for the box. Oh fuck. Oh, sorry. That's you're gonna need to bleep me at 37 minutes, Connor. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
The
The audience know what we're about at this point.
Actually, speaking of amazing art, there's a really fun bit of art just under the wings and fertile ability of
I've not seen this.
a ranger with sorry, not a ranger, but a monk. This is a human monk practices a form inspired by dragonflight, which is dope.
Those white and gold robes look awesome.
Yeah, they do. Oh man.
So yeah, so what was changed or what was nerfed? Because I mean, I read through this when the book came out, and admittedly, it had been a while since I'd looked at the UA class. But honestly, I looked at this and I thought this still looks really, really good and really powerful now.
Give me 1 sec. I'm pretty sure I downloaded the UA myself.
Okay. So basically, it lets you kind of use similar to the other class where you pick an elemental type based on a dragon. It lets you do the same thing between acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison. So it's the 5 typical ones that you would have. We unfortunately don't get necrotic, radiant, psychic, force, or any of the other ones that go along with the gem dragons. But that being said, this is still it is still really cool to have this. Looking at that art, actually, Martin, makes me just think of the Dance of Dragons in Avatar,
Yeah.
where actually if you watch Korra, there's the Avatar 1 2-parter, and in that there's the bit where he's able to just whoosh fire out of his hands, and that's fine, it works. But he starts mimicking the motions of dragons, and it shows how the like kung fu style comes out in it.
Yeah,
I remember. And I love it. I love it so much.
I now remember what it was. He said was a massive like. It's still a very very good subclass, but yeah, there used to be. Do you know what we can get to it as we go through it because it'll just come up naturally talking about it.
Yeah, sure.
If you want, but I'll explain what the big nerf is once we get to it. It's to do with the aspect of the worm ability.
So that's the 11th level ability. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Sounds good. So at 3rd level, you get Draconic Presence, which is kind of like the Frightful Presence ability of a dragon. You get if you fail a Charisma, Intimidation, or Persuasion check, you can use a reaction to re-roll. Once you use this feature, you can't use it against if you finish a long rest. Kind of a ribbon ability, not huge, but in a clutch moment, it could be really really good. And you don't have to choose. You don't have to choose like one or the other, whether you're going to be a good person or a bad person. But whenever the situation comes up that suits, you just pick which one you want to use, which is nice. Draconic Strike, when you damage a target with an unarmed strike, you can change the damage type to any of them, and that's it. So instead of bludgeoning or anything like that, you just do that damage type, which I think is insane. acid punches are a thing now.
If I was to play this, right, what I would do is I would do, what is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you have 5 different types of damage you can do. I would have them be your 5 different forms.
Oh, like having them be like different stances that you take.
Yeah, like stances or patterns of movements, like there are in like karate or something like that, or kung fu, where you have forms and it's like specific things like.
Are they called juros? The Filipino
Kali.
I think they're called juros.
In karate they tend to be called forms or kata. And like it just super reminds you of, like, because I used to do karate when I was younger, and there was one that was called it was like Naihachi, which actually means like iron horse. And like then the one before that was called like Basai Day, and that was like Snake Destroys Fortress. And so there's all just like cool things like that, and like all the movements in them are to emulate the movements of the animal mentioned. So like Naihachi is the iron horse stance, because the entire time you do this form you're in a very deep, very wide horse stance.
You're low to the ground, and you got good. You got stable. Yeah.
And then like Basai Day, the one that translates as Snake Destroying Fortress, you start off like this, and then you go down and to the side, and then smash through. And it's all very like, all your hand movements are very like kind of kung fu snake.
I guess like a snake kind of coiled up and stuff.
Like
that's really
it's
cool.
literally like you start off like that, and you go pull it up to here, and then you go down, and then boom, down like that, and that's how it starts. It's very like a snake pulling back to strike kind of thing. But like this just gives me such, I love this. It's such like Bruce Lee, like old school kung fu movie. I love it so much.
There's some great stuff in it where like I could totally see, if I was to play this, I would discuss it with the DM and be like, hey, look, I'm gonna pick one of these damage types, you know, that I start off with, but I would like for you to maybe seed other masters in the world that I can learn the other damage types from.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah, so that I can master all the forms as I go. And you're kind of
like an
intentionally
avatar
nerfing
story.
yourself.
Yeah.
Basically, you're the avatar going on their journey to learn all the different elements, but it's more martial arts based, because you're learning the stances and stuff like that go along with it. I think it'd be super, super cool. And like maybe some of the masters are actual dragons, so or maybe they make you do something crazy to learn it. Like, okay, if you want to learn the lightning stance, like Zuko or something, you need to go to the top of the mountain and you need to fight lightning. A lightning bolt is going to try and strike you, and you need to fight it.
What about if you have to deliberately fail the dragon's breath weapon?
That could work.
And you you just let the elemental energy completely wash over you, and that's how it mixes with your ki that way. But you have to take the damage, and you have to stay conscious, otherwise it doesn't work.
You can just say to the DM, I refuse the dex check. I'm just gonna take it. I stand there and I just allow it to hit me. That could be also be very cool. So right from the start, and here's why this works so well immediately over the elemental monk, right? At the same level for the elemental monk, you can maybe do 1 or 2 other damage types. I think you can do the fangs of the fire snake, which you have to spend a key point on to get an additional d10 of damage on your next unarmed strike. Whereas now it's like, oh, you just do any of these 5 damage types you want, and they just replace the damage you would otherwise do with that attack, which grants you huge flexibility, because that means that at third level
big as well, because your martial arts dice scale up pretty quick.
Exactly, and you can do up to 4 attacks in a round if you spend a key point as well.
Yep.
And the thing is as well, like at third level, that immediately gives you the ability to circumvent magical resistance, because if a monster comes up and says, oh, either silvered weapons or magical items, whatever, you don't get that until like level 6, I think it is, with monks.
Key powered strikes is level 6, I think.
Yeah, so you won't get it till then, but with this class you could be like, oh cool, he's resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, I'll just hit him with lightning instead. You know, you don't have to worry about it. So immediately it's way more powerful. One other thing you get here is you get the tongues of the dragon. You speak Draconic. That's a pretty typical ribbon ability. You have the breath of the dragon. So when this is also third level. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of your attacks with an exhalation. That's a great word. Of draconic energy. That's a 20-foot cone or a 30-foot line. You choose, and then you choose the damage type you want to do as well. So that actually works super, super well, because you're not sacrificing your unarmed strikes. you're just replacing one of them with a cone or a line of energy as well. That's essentially you're saying you can do the Azula thing of doing the lightning strike firebender thing, and then you can immediately follow up with a bunch more strikes immediately afterwards.
Because
So
you can, just as it's still the attack action. You just replace it with a breath, so that means you can still do a flurry of blows off this.
True, yes. This is when you take the attack action on your turn. That's true, because that means that it's still an attack action you've taken. So by the rules of flurry of blows, you can still do your additional bonus action strike or 2 bonus action strikes.
Yeah, and you could do different damage types as well for both of those if you wanted to. Like, I
You
love
could-
this.
you
I
could
love
rush
this so
in.
much. I love this so much. This is awesome.
You could literally rush in, do an acid breath ability as your first strike, and then do a follow up of cold punch, then do a bonus action fire punch, and then do a final spend a key point, get your flurry of blows, and then do a final lightning punch as your final thing, and you've done 4 types of damage in a round.
Oh man, this is so cool. I love this so much.
It's insane. It's really good.
Like, Monk is so stacked with incredible subclasses. It's almost unfair.
It's just depressing there when I think about the elemental monk and how badly I want it to work because I love Avatar.
Yeah, no, this can go now. That can go. This is fine.
This is Avatar now.
Well, like, the firebenders all learned how to firebend from dragons.
From dragons, yeah. You could comfortably play an Avatar build in
Oh,
this.
you could play Roku with this.
Oh, it'd be so. Stop it.
Oh, and actually, because they both monk and because monks use wisdom as well.
You could do a Drake Warden. I was thinking of it already.
That'd be so crazy.
And what's it? Was it Fang? Was his dragon? I think.
Yes, Fang. Yeah.
Yeah. And Fang sacrificed himself and wrapped around him when the Paratastic Blow came down. Breaks my heart. I watch a lot of people react to Avatar, and I watched one where like there's this couple who were watching it for the first time, and of all the stuff that all the stuff in that episode is really heavy and just utterly fantastic. But there's the bit where Sozin shows up and he's like, "Need a hand, old friend?" and the girl watching it didn't realize what was happening there, and she thought, oh, after all these years he's still friends, and he helps him and they are working together, and her heart was breaking because it was such a touching moment, and then he betrays him, and then her heart was broken even more, and the final nail in that coffin was when Fang swoops down and circles around him so they could die together, and she was done. She was just done after that episode. Yeah, so the damage on this equals 2 of this breath attack is 2 of your martial arts die rolls, which is pretty good. And again, that scales up so nicely when you think of how Monk is built anyway. At 11th level, it's 3 rolls, and then you can use the feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all uses on a long rest. If you've no uses available, you could use fucking key points. Thank God. Like, again, it's already great that they're giving you your proficiency bonus a number of times per long rest, but then they're saying, oh yeah, just take a short rest, get all your key points back, and then you can do this more the next fight. It's no biggie. Which is just great. It's really, really good. Obviously, at this level, that 3rd level, 2 key points is most of your key points, but
Yes.
you get way more. You get 1 per level as you go up. Then
I'd be cool with spending. I'm cool with spending 2 key points to breathe fire.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's totally right. And then back on a short rest, breathe fire again next fight. It's perfect. I think it's fantastic, and I like that the cone is 20 feet or a 30-foot line. That's as much as a Dragonborn. Actually, I think it's more. I think 20 foot was a Dragonborn's. Or 15 foot was the cone on a Dragonborn's breath.
I think maybe, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked at it in a while, I'll be honest.
It's still a 30-foot line, so you're doing as much as a Dragonborn there. And if you play a Dragonborn, of course, you get your other breath weapon abilities and stuff, so you're just breathing fire
You have
constantly.
so many breath weapons if you're pick a
Yeah.
Dragonborn and then go this monk.
And then I think, I'd have to check. Okay. And then, so 6th level, Wings Unfurl. When you step into the wind, you can unfurl spectral draconic wings from your back that vanish at the end of your turn. While the wings exist, you have a fly speed equal to your walking speed. This is the thing I've seen them do a few times in a couple of different classes. I think the Cyanite gets a version of this as well, where they get a
Level
temporary
6.
fly speed. Yeah. Really, really cool. It basically gives you the ability to like super high jump, but you do have a fly speed, so it's like you can pretty much just jump up or fly up to a point, land, and at the end of your turn, as long as you're landed, you're fine.
It makes you an anime character.
it basically made, and just below we have the illustration of the monk
So
jumping
badass.
through the air as well. Um, so yeah, you gain all the uses of this. So this is a proficiency bonus. Oh, sorry, yeah, number of times proficiency bonus, and you get it all back when you finish a long rest. Simple one, but honestly, the 6th level abilities of the monks tend to be pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, we're on aspect of the worm. I'm going to read this out as it is. You tell me what it was before and how much better it was. So, the power of your Draconic Spirit now radiates from you. As a bonus action, you can create an aura of Draconic power that radiates 10 feet from you for 1 minute. For the duration, you gain one of the following effects. So, Frightful Presence. Choose a number of creatures in the aura. They make Wisdom save or become frightened of you for the next minute. They repeat the saving throw at the end of each of their turns. The other option is that you choose a damage type when you activate the aura from the aforementioned list of damage types, and you and your allies within the aura have a resistance to that damage type. Now it's only a 10-foot aura, so it's not huge. Once you create this aura, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest or expend 3 key points. So again, I love that they give you the option of expending key points as an alternative. That's pretty good. I think that's a decent ability, but obviously it was more powerful before. The Frightful Presence, you get a lot of fear things. I don't typically use fear when I play characters, but there's a lot of abilities out there that do it, and it can be really, really helpful because particularly for a monk, which is typically a melee class, the enemies, you have to go to the enemies. They're not going to charge you. You can walk up to one person, take them on one at a time, move on to the next person, and they can't come near you because of fear. So it can be good, and I like the resistance thing. Yeah, I have to look at the class further through. What was how did it work previously in the UA?
So previously it was 30-foot auras.
Okay.
In the UA.
Yeah.
30 foot for 1 minute. As a bonus action, you can create an aura of Draconic power that radiates 30 feet from you for 1 minute. Choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage, and for the duration, you gain the following effects. You and your allies within the aura gain resistance to the chosen damage type, and wave of destructive energy flow out from you and your allies when any of you are attacked. When you or one of your allies in the aura is hit by an attack made by another creature within the aura, the target that was hit can use their reaction to deal an amount of damage of the chosen type equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die to the attacker. And then once you use this as a bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish long rest unless you expend 4 key points to use it again. So it wasn't an ore, and the Frightful Presence is replacing basically being able to do
damage ability.
Reactive damage. Yeah.
Okay. I see that. That is. I mean, I think this is a perfectly fine ability as it is here, but I totally get why.
The Frightful Presence is the only thing in this entire subclass where I'm like, really? I get why it's there, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's powerful enough for an 11th level. Or if it is going to be the 11th level, you give me both of these rather than make me choose. Because if I choose Frightful Presence, if I choose so let's say I choose Frightful Presence, right? Because we hear something big is coming, and I'm like, okay, something big is coming. I'm going to go into Frightful Presence to try and lock it down. I can use my Frightful Presence so it can't come near the us while we're there. If the big thing that comes out happens to be immune to fear, which quite a lot of creatures are, that's kind of buff kiss, really. That's your aspect of the worm, kind of.
Also, the thing is, like, it's a 10-foot aura, so like you would you have to choose creatures within your aura, and it's only a 10-foot aura. You have to be right up on that creature to stop them from getting close to you. And I mean, a lot of big creatures have a 10-foot reach, so
we literally just talked about the aspect of Tiamat there that has like a 15-foot reach on its claw.
a lot of big creatures have either a 10 or 15-foot reach with their basic melee weapons. So if you want to try and lock a creature down like that, or like I said a minute ago, it's great to be able to use fear if you can prevent people from ganging up on you. You know, that way, if 3 people are standing there and you use it and all 3 of them cannot move any closer, that means you're in control. I can move to just this person. These 2 guys cannot approach me because they're frightened of me, and I can just focus on a one-on-one, and then when I'm done with him, I'll move on to number 2, and then I'll move on to number 3. And it just lets you stagger the incoming opponents. That wouldn't work in this case because, like we said, a lot of it would stop some of them, but also it's only when you activate it that these creatures make the save. It's not like when they enter the aura for the first time, is it? No, it's when you activate it, you choose a number of creatures. So I mean, how many creatures are standing within 10 feet of you? That I still think this should have been a 30-foot aura.
Yeah.
I think that would have been much more. It wouldn't have been as jamming.
I
If it was still a 30
imagine
foot aura.
my logic for this is I imagine they're balancing that around how paladin auras work, because at level 11 you get your 10-foot auras, but they scale up to 30 feet then when you get to level 17.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine
maybe they don't overshadow paladins.
that's what I was thinking is the only reason why they would have cut it to 10, the exact same as the paladin, was because I could see playing a paladin being like, nice, level 11, I'm immune to fear, I'm immune to disease, whatever. I can give my allies the aura of protection
bonuses, I guess,
within 10 feet, and then like one of your allies.
That aura is so broken.
It's so good. I love it. Oh god, I miss it.
Everybody had a +7 or something. So, like, what was it? Is your charisma bonus or something?
My charisma, and like I didn't even pump much charisma into area. You
had at least a 16.
I had a 16 by end of campaign. I had 14 for most of the campaign.
So everybody had a +3 on all of their saving throws, and it was like, oh, you mean the rogue that already has like a +11 now has a +14 on his dex save? Why do we even bother?
The rogue and the monk didn't get hit by many fire-based kind of spells when I was around, mainly. Do you remember that dragon fight where like everyone else didn't take any damage because they all had evasion, but the dragon just kept breathing on us and flying over us, and I just kept failing the check, but my bonuses made everyone else pass, so it was just like, we could do this. And then everyone else is, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine, let's keep going.
You give him a thumbs up and the top of your thumb is on fire like a birthday candle, and you're like, I'm fine.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the only reason I could see why that's been nerfed. But like, even at that, I don't think it's like massively detrimental to the subclass. This is still easily one of the best monk subclasses.
Oh yeah, it's still really good. I mean, I think even with the 30-foot aura, the ability to give your group resistance to a damage is like quite good as well. Here's the thing,
like that's specifically so good for fighting dragons with their breath weapons.
That's the thing. But my thought immediately goes to, well, okay, if everyone needs to be within 10 feet of me to benefit from this aura, that means we're all basically grouping up around me, and the dragon can just breath weapon all of us at once, which I'm like, that kind of defeats the purpose, because I would rather people spread out but are still in my aura, and then not everyone's getting hit, because the dragon has to choose between who they're going to hit with the cone, you know?
But if everyone, at the same time, if everyone's gathered around you like that, and they all pass their saves, and they all pass save, then you're quartering the damage, not just having it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a reward kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit of give and take there. I can totally see why people weren't happy with it. I still think this is a fine 11th ability. It's not the best. There's better 11th level monk abilities out there for other subclasses. But I mean, given all we've gotten so far now at 3 and 6, I think it's quite good. It's okay still.
Oh, it's still very good.
17th level, we have the Ascendant aspect. So, Augmented Breath. When you use your Breath of the Dragon ability, you can spend 1 key point to augment the shape and power. The exhalation of the dragon energy becomes a 60-foot cone or a 90-foot line, which is really, really cool. That is 5 feet long. And each creature in the area takes damage equal to 4 rolls of your martial arts die. So that's pretty cool. You just get the regular uses, but you're basically spending 1 key point to buff it out a bit, which is nice. You also get blind sight. A lot of dragons have blind sight or true sight and stuff like that. You gain blind sight up to 10 feet. Within that range, you can effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover, even if you are blinded or in darkness. Moreover, you can see invisible creatures within that range. Pretty good for a 17th level ability to have that. And finally, Explosive Fury. When you activate your aspect of the worm, this kind of retroactively makes it a little better.
Yeah.
When you activate your aspect of the worm, which is the 11th level ability, Fury explodes from you any number of creatures that you can see in the aura, or choose any number of creatures you can see in the aura. Each of those creatures must succeed on a Dex saving throw based on your key save DC, or take 3d10 of one of the damage types at the time. So you kind of get a one-off ability just from activating it. There's actually no key point cost to that. You can just activate the aspect of the worm as you normally would, and you get an additional ability. It kind of retroactively makes it a little better, but even then, it's. I do think the weakest part of this is definitely 11th level.
Yeah. I think maybe even if they had scaled it to maybe like 20 or 15 feet,
yeah, 15 or 20 or something. It's just 10 feet is it's such a small aura.
Yeah.
And again, when and again, I find it hard
It like
to get my head around
retroactively
because
kneecaps like that aura only being 10 feet retroactively kneecaps your explosive fury ability that you get at 17th level. Because if that was still 30 feet, you could affect so many more creatures from a distance. Where if it's 10 feet,
yeah,
it's going to dramatically cut down the amount of creatures you can affect. It'll still be good. It'll still be strong. And like Monk is such a well built class anyway that even if the explosive fury and the aspect of the worm aren't quite as strong as they used to be, like the base Monk class will cover over those cracks no problem.
that is true. I mean, a lot of just the base monk abilities work really well. I'm trying to wrap my head around the thought process because I'm like, if you're building a monk subclass that is based around dragons, how do you not immediately think of how do all of their abilities size up when they're in a fight with a dragon, you know? And I just feel like it's a weird catch 22 because in order to be resistant to the damage you have to be closer to the monk, but if you all bunch up to the monk you're more likely to be the one targeted by the thing. So like you'd almost be better off in some instances of spreading out in all directions so only one person gets hit and takes full damage potentially, but it's only one person, as opposed to the whole team in a tight cluster and everyone takes half. I feel like you know,
I guess the thought process behind it would be, you know, you're a monk, so if you're doing the punching, you're going to be up in melee range with whatever creature or dragon is. So you're probably going to have like a rogue or a fighter or a barb or some other martial class up there with you as well that you can grant that resistance to. Which will still work because obviously like it worked really well when I played a paladin because we had a rogue and a monk that were up in the front line with me, and they got my benefits from being immune to fear and the bonuses they're saving throws. So like I think it'll still work, and I think it'll still be something that you'll appreciate when you're using it. But it's just it could have been so much stronger.
Yeah. It had potential to be. I don't think it's an underpowered class by any means.
Jesus,
I think just sheer flexibility alone of the damage types you can dish out, it's solid. It's really really solid. I can understand. What's it? What's your name? Ted from Nerd Version. Yeah. I can understand his hesitation or his what did you do to my boy? My monk is a box. I can understand why he would feel that way. I don't think the class has been, to use your own terminology from a minute ago, kneecapped entirely, but definitely that one ability has been. Yeah. I think, like, fair enough. Like, get rid of the ability to do reactionary damage to everyone. That could be potentially very damaging over the course of multiple rounds.
And that was any other creature in the aura. You or any other creature in the aura could do that as well. Yeah,
and I mean, I know everyone has reactions, but if you're using reaction, I think what did you say? It was 2 martial arts damage dice worth of.
Give me 2 seconds. I will put it up.
Which at 11th level is D8, I think. Yeah, I think it's D8 by 11th level. It's essentially like a small hellish rebuke, but everyone can do it with no spell slot. You just use your reaction.
It's 1 roll of your martial arts die.
Oh, it's 1. Okay, so it's a bit weaker than hellish rebuke.
And then just for the ascendant aspect part, when you activate aspect of the worm, fury explodes, and you choose any number of creatures. It's 4d10. Is it still 4d? Yeah, it's it's a d10 lower on the explosive fury as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Okay, as it stands, I still think solid subclass, and I can see myself playing it. And again, I think the different flavors you can do, whether you're going for like an avatar thing or an Iron Fist thing or whatever, there's loads that you can play around with.
You could do a Power Rangers thing with this if you wanted.
You could do a Power Rangers thing. That'd be really good. So let's move on very briefly. I want to talk about because I'm just conscious of time. I don't want to get too into it. Because they haven't tweaked them terribly, but the Dragonborn's race we said has now split up into different things. I'm interested just because we talked about it very briefly
that's
before.
Some nice art for the Chromatic Dragonborn.
I'm gonna open it up myself here now. There is they basically split them into chromatic, gem, and metallic. And I think that I honestly think there's some the chromatic one in like the tavern or something.
Yeah, the stealth sword.
Yeah,
Oh, it looks so good.
really cool. Um, yeah, so they haven't tweaked it much from the UA. So if you've seen the UA, there's not a whole lot else here, I don't think.
So we won't get into too much because we already did cover that, I believe, in the previous episode.
Yes. The biggest thing I suppose really is just that they've given basically they split them into 3 ones. They've given them their own breath weapons and stuff like that. But they've given everyone 2 additional abilities. One is, let me see now. The breath weapon works more frequently. You get multiple uses of it, and I think it's on average it's probably a little less powerful, but it does scale up nicely still.
It does, yeah. I like that it scales at both your con and your proficiency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is nice. As if it were a spell save.
Jeez, yeah, like if you go like a martial dragonborn with that, like that gives you because you'll probably be stacking on con. That'll give you like a really good, really powerful breath weapon that you can use as a backup to your like melee strikes.
It'd be fantastic if you were a barbarian because your AC is determined by con as well, so you could just dump all your stuff into con. Great AC, high breath weapon save.
Holy crap, that would be amazing! Yeah.
You could do this. You could play like, I don't know, for talk's sake, a red dragonborn, so you're fire, and then you have a fire breath you can do in place of one of your attacks. Because I think it is, right? Yeah, in place of one of your attacks instead of being a full action to do it. And then you could also do a thing where like you could play the Storm Herald desert one that you get the fire abilities.
Yeah.
So you're just a walking furnace, just blasting fire and everything all over the place. It'd be brilliant.
There's so many fun multi-class abilities, multi-class options opening up now with all this Fizban stuff, and it's getting me very excited again.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, okay, so again we have that. They have an ability as well where I think they can become immune. At 5th level, you become immune to your damage type for 1 minute, which is also very cool. So you can just flat out not take any damage from any of the 5 chromatic damage types, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's a once per long rest, but I mean, that's a nice little addition. I said, the reason I was asking you before we started recording I was asking about the survey they did a while back on Wizards about what races and classes were the most popular and stuff like that. And I wanted to know because I'm like, in my head, Dragonborn were pretty popular. People liked playing Dragonborn. I'm actually looking at it here. They're the 5th most popular race.
Oh, really? I thought they'd be lower.
You know, it's human, elf, half elf. That's pretty, yeah.
A, B, A, B.
Yeah, exactly. And then dwarf, and then Dragonborn. Which I was kind of shocked because I would have put tieflings higher. I feel like everyone plays a tiefling.
Yeah. Tiefling is normally what you go for if you want the edge.
If you want the edge, yeah, just a little bit of edge. I would have put it. I don't know, yeah, but Dragonborn are in the top 5, which is really cool. I didn't think they needed a buff necessarily. Don't get me wrong, I love what they did with them, and I'm more inclined to play them now. But I thought they were pretty good to begin with. And then, yeah, I just as a little side note, turns out Aarakocra are by far the least popular race, and that saddens me because I like Aarakocra.
I built an Aarakocra gunslinger once, just to be as annoying as possible for my DM.
Level
1, you fly up. No, level 1, you fly up into the air. I fucking 600 feet of range on my pistols. Bang!
Yeah, I'm getting off topic here, but while so Aarakocra turned out to be the least popular race, while of the non-core races, the Goliath led the pack.
That doesn't surprise me.
Goliath's it due in no small part to Critical Role.
Yeah, Grog.
As well as there's a big gap between Dwarf and the races that follow, with the Tiefling and a few other races following right behind on the Dragonborn's heels. So it goes like Human, Elf, Half Elf, Dwarf, and then there's a big drop, and then it goes Dragonborn, Tiefling, and a bunch of others that are kind of clustered there. But it's typically your Human, Elf, Half Elf, and Dwarf, and I think that's very true to form.
I love it as well because for that one, like it's the class that everybody makes fun of, but Human Fighter is the most popular combination.
Exactly, yeah, which is insane. Up next we had the Gem Dragonborn, which are new, which are really, really awesome.
Also, some great art for those too.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a breath weapon as well. They have their ability is a psychic mind, so you get you can telepathically speak to people within 30 feet. And then they get a thing called Gem Flight, which at 5th level they can. It says you manifest spectral wings from your body. The wings last for 1 minute. For the duration, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed, and that's for a long rest. Because the Gem Dragonborn tend to be so psionically related, I would totally just reskin that you kind of like Jean Grey,
yes.
Phoenix just hover up into the air with psionic energy and
or
stuff
Magneto.
like that.
Yeah.
Or Magneto, yeah, and just carry yourself along. Because you can, I believe you can hover with that, right?
You can, yeah.
And can hover, yeah, so perfect. And then the Metallic Dragonborn, we have...
Amethyst Dragon, Bear Totem. No, sorry, Emerald Dragon, Bear Totem. Emerald Dragon, Bear Totem.
Psychic Dows, yeah.
You will be immune to everything and no one can kill you.
And then we have, so the Breath Weapon again on the Metallics. They get a Metallic Breath Weapon, which is a special one that they can use. And they can either do an Enervating Breath, which was just, become incapacitated. So it's basically you're just knocking people out. You can just kind of breathe into a cluster of people.
Tear gas breath, basically.
Basically. And then there's a Repulsion Breath, which is kind of cool, which is you can push people 20 feet away and they're knocked prone.
That's a Fus Roda. Cool. That's literally a Fus Roda.
Yeah, you straight up Fus Roda with that one. Yeah, which is unreal. That's very cool. I will go.
And I absolutely, if I was playing a Metallic Dragonborn, I absolutely would be like, oh, every time I'm going to use my Repulsion Breath, Fus! Like, yeah.
Yeah, you say Fus, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, headphone users, by the way. Apologies.
So we have 3 feats that came in with the Gifted of Chromatic Dragon.
Yes. My players are actually using the UA versions of both the Gem and Metallic Dragons. No, sorry, Metallic and Chromatic Dragons already. Yeah.
That's really cool. So with the Gift of Chromatic, you can basically get an extra D4 damage for, I believe it's for a minute, yeah, on a weapon, on a martial weapon or a simple weapon that you are using.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That actually pairs super well with the Monk because technically your unarmed strikes are simple weapon attacks. So you can get extra D4 on your punches and be doing additional damage on top.
Ooh, nasty.
It's a bonus action for you to activate that. So you can on the first round of combat, bonus action, and then just do 2 attacks as a monk, and you're getting 2d6 plus an extra d4 plus your mods and whatever. So that goes up nicely. And then reactive resistance. When you take acid, fire, cold, lightning, poison, you can use a reaction to give yourself to that instance of damage. You get resistance out of it then. Sorry, yeah, but as a reaction, and you can do that a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. That's really cool. That's really great, even if you weren't necessarily like if you wanted to play. I don't know. I think when I think of the elemental weapon, I think of like Baric Dondarrion and stuff like that with the flaming sword. It doesn't even have to be dragon related, you know. And then when I think about the resistances, I think about that's handy for even like a regular fighter who's like, hey, I get a bunch of weapon attacks around, so if I can get 1d4 fire damage on that and hit people 4 or 5 times in a round, that's brilliant. Plus, if we ever do end up fighting a dragon, I can use a number of reactions to resist the breath weapon.
If you're a fighter without magic weapons and you come up with a creature that has resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, suddenly you use your drag, your kind of gift, and your sword lights up like lightning. Yeah, you're good to go.
Absolutely. I think it's a great one for, again, I know it's the Gifted or Chromatic Dragon. You can totally re-flavor that into whatever, though. If you were playing a light cleric, again, to go back to the kind of Baric Dondarrion thing, you could just be like, oh, I can make my sword fiery for a minute. I think they don't get that at level 8, I think, because they're one of those cleric classes that get bonus damage to their spells instead of bonus damage to their weapons, I think. But you can totally get it with this, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And we have the Gift of the Gem Dragon, which is geared more towards casters in that it gives you an increase in intelligence, wisdom, or charisma up to a max of 20, which is always nice.
I think this is the one that Mandroy has in my game.
Yeah.
My Druid has the Gem Dragon, I'm pretty sure, and then my Sorcerer has the Metallic Dragon one.
I would totally take this if I was playing that kind of Jedi build because it's just more psionic related stuff. It's really cool. And when you take damage, pair this with a couple like the telekinetic and telepathic feats and stuff like that, and then take maybe a Dragonborn, like I think it's Emerald has force damage or
Emerald is psychic, yeah. Amethyst is force.
Amethyst. So pick an Amethyst one, and then just have all the force damage abilities and all the pushing and pulling abilities. So
you just want to be a Dragon Jedi, don't you?
I just want to be a Dragon Jedi. Yeah. So this is the thing: when you take damage from a creature in 10 feet of you, you can use a reaction to emanate telekinetic energy. The damage dealt, the creature that the damage dealt, or death dealt to damage. God damn it, I can't speak. Must make a strength saving throw. On the fail save, the strength saving throw is tied to the ability modifier that you increased. So you would want to make sure that you're selecting the right one based on the subclass you're using and stuff like that. On a failed save, the creature takes 2d8 force damage and is pushed 10 feet away from you. On a successful save, half as much and isn't pushed. And you get a number of uses that equal to your proficiency. This is, again, it is more geared towards casters because the idea is you can push someone back if they get too close. Casters aren't typically melee combatants. So if someone gets up in your face, it's a case of you hit me, get the hell away, push someone back, take some damage, and you can make your moves get away, hopefully, on the next turn then.
Yeah.
Finally, with the Metallic Dragon one, this is really cool. So Draconic Healing, you basically learn Cure Wounds, regardless of what your subclass. There's no class or subclass requirements or anything like that. You just learn Cure Wounds, and you can cast it without a spell slot. Once you cast it this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. So you get a single free use. And we see this more and more.
But it says in this way though. So if you have spell slots, you can cast it as many times as you want.
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting to, because we're seeing this more and more with feats and some of the newer stuff from Tasha's and all that, where if something gives you a spell or the ability to use a spell, they used to just say, like, if, for example, if you take Magic Initiate, you can learn Cure Wounds from that, but it doesn't say that you can cast Cure Wounds. Now, I would allow it personally, because I feel like if you know the spell and you have the spell slots, go nuts.
Yeah.
But they're specifically adding in this extra bit which says you can also cast the spell using spell slots you would have. The spell's ability is Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma when you cast it, based on when you choose the feat. So again, that's cool because you could be a wizard with Cure Wounds and be able to heal yourself using this ability, you know. And then they have a thing called you can manifest Protective Wings. This is Protective Wings. I do have one. It's a nitpick, but I have one little gripe with this. So basically, you manifest wings. When you or another creature within 5 feet of you is hit with an attack roll, you can use a reaction to manifest these wings, spectral wings, on your back for a moment. You grant a bonus to the target's AC equal to your proficiency, which is nice again because proficiency scales up. We always love that. Potentially causing it to miss. So it's kind of like a shield ability.
Yeah.
And you get a number of times equal to your proficiency and get it back on long rest. My one gripe about this is stop giving me wings if I can't fly. I hate when they give you, because this is the Fallen Aasimar does it as well. It's like, oh, you sprout skeletal wings. You can't fly with them, but you have them. And it's like, why? Just call it anything else. Describe it any other way. Stop saying I have wings and I can't use them.
I can see where you're coming from there, but well, I guess the whole idea is that you're using the wings as a shield. They like snap out and fold into place in front of you, like.
I mean, I would have called this, I don't know, protective scale or I don't know. Something else to do with dragons that isn't necessarily that you have wings. It's just when you say you have protective wings,
Draconic hide.
There's an implication, huh?
Draconic hide.
Yeah, Draconic hide, exactly. Yeah, or something like that. Scales. It's a metallic dragon, so call it like Scales of Bahamut or something like that. You know. And then you're manifesting energy like a shield to protect people. It's a little thing. It's not a big deal, but it is a cool ability regardless.
I am a sucker for alliteration though, so Warding Wings would be a really cool name for that.
Warding Wings works really well too. Yeah. This is quite cool actually. I think if you were to play like a fighter or a paladin, and you took the protection fighting style. Yeah. This is like additional things you can use to block people and your allies near you and stuff like that. And again, it's basically shield, but it just takes a while to get to the same power level. But you get up to 6 uses of it. Yeah. And you can be blocking yourself, you're blocking your allies. You could be a really good support frontline kind of melee guy who also helps defend their allies with their reactions. You know, really, really great. Okay, we have approximately 10 minutes, Martin. Let's jump into some monsters.
Oh, okay, let's do it. There's some weird stuff in this, and I'm such a fan of it.
Okay, if you're anything, just hit me.
Elderbrain Dragon.
Oh god, the Elderbrain Dragon is scary, man.
Also fucking sea serpents are in this, which I'm so happy about.
How I wanted just a straight up sea serpent, just a sea serpent. I'm not asking for a lot. They have them now, and they have different levels of them as well, which is nice. That Elderbrain Dragon is one of the most terrifying things.
The art
Like,
is just so...
not even like a conceptual idea. The art is terrifying, and the idea is terrifying. But from a mechanical perspective, their breath weapon is that they breathe mind flayer tadpoles all over you.
Yeah.
That is the most. It's like, it doesn't even do. Oh no, no, I was going to say it doesn't even do damage. It does 10d10 psychic damage, and then you become infested with a tadpole.
Also, it's a DC 22 con save. Only your barbarians are passing that. Like, oh my god.
It's honest to God, it's one of the most terrifying creatures ever. Like, here's the thing.
I'm at sorry. No, please, you.
I was just going to say, there's certain monsters in D&D. Like, this is only a challenge rating 22. It's high, but it's not the highest thing in the game. I think I'd rather fight the aspect of Tiamat than fight this thing, because all I'd have to do is fail one con save. There's a mind flayer tadpole in me. It's gradually doing damage to me each turn, and then if I die, I resurrect a few days later, 6d12 hours later, and I'm a mind flayer. So you go through. Is it called Ceramorphosis? Ceramorphosis, that's very hard to say. But yeah, that's that. So you basically turn into a mind flayer unless someone. What is it? You need to transform.
Unless someone casts Wish on you.
Why even bother? Just give up at that point. TPK, start a new campaign. In a world where mind flayers don't exist.
Oh my god, you take so much damage as well. You take 3d10 damage each turn.
But the regular breath weapon is 10d10 as well. And the thing is, if a creature targeted by the magic ends the curse, if a creature is targeted by magic that ends a curse, so if you have remove curse and you're quick, you can get rid of it, or restores 40 hit points or more on a single thing. So that's Heal would do it instantly, but then if you're talking about a cure wounds, you're talking about dropping at least like to be safe with a cure wounds, at least a 6th level cure wounds, you know, because it's D8 and you're not going to get the highest thing on it. Like if you read like a 4 isn't going to do it.
You could do a Paladin's Lay on Hands as well. Would get rid of it.
Balance in our hands would do it, yeah. It's sort like honestly, it's an honest to God terrifying creature. It's amazing.
It also
I love
doesn't
it,
require air or sleep.
And I like that it hovers as well. I just picture it not even flapping its wings; it's just like psychically hovering.
I know. I bet it fucking drips as well. You know that thing drips like.
Yeah, of
Oh
course it drips.
god.
You'd look up and it'd just be there above you, like.
Oh god. That's how they know it's coming. They just hear.
Okay, so we won't get into too much. We have all of the gem dragons are now in here. We have all of our gems. We have great worms, which are they're like roided out versions of all of your other dragons. All your gems, all your chromatic, all your metallics, all have versions in here. They have new abilities. Some of them have spell casting now and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Some of them have different breath weapons. I think they all have almost all of them have that awakening thing, which is kind of like the Tiamat thing we talked about at the start of the episode, where if they drop to 0, no, you would instead drop to like a couple hundred hit points, and this thing and your breath is a reset, and it's a bunch of other stuff like so. It's that this isn't my final form shtick.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the Great Worm for this is this just a generic gem Great Worm? You can teleport as a bonus action. Oh my god.
Art for that is amazing as well.
Yeah. What else do we have? I'm trying to rush through because I don't want to spend our time.
There's some fun new undead dragons. There's the Ghost Dragon, which can hide inside objects, which is class. There's also the Hollow Dragon, which is like basically like a huge dragon skeleton, and it's got this really cool thing called reconstruction, where when you drop it to 0 hit points, its body basically disassembles itself into 9 pieces. It was 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 wings, a tail, a torso, and a head, and each piece is a large object with an AC of 97 and 27 hit points, immunity to psychic and poison damage. After 1d6 days, if all pieces are still within 6 miles of each other, they all teleport to the location of the headpiece and merge with it, resurrecting the dragon.
This is actually quite cool because the hollow. You have to look at the hollow, right?
The hollow dragon, yeah, that's the hollow dragon.
The cool thing about the hollow dragon, I did briefly read over the little snippet for this. They're not necessarily evil dragons. This is kind of like the good dragon version of a Dracolich, where some dragons are like, I'm evil, I want to live forever and terrorize people for all time.
It's any alignment.
No, but what they say is that they can often do it for a noble
Oh,
purpose.
sorry, yeah.
So like if they're like so instead of like again evil dragons that are like I want to live forever and rule the world and be the most powerful creature, so I'm gonna make myself into a Dracolich or something like that. These are the guys that are like, oh, I'm a golden dragon. This temple must remain protected from evil forces, and if it should ever fall, the world is doomed. So I'm going to sacrifice my life and turn myself into one of these hollow dragons. I will be but an aspect of what I was, but I will live for I will not live. I'm undead, but I will stand guard here for eternity. You know, which I think is super super cool.
Yeah, an
It's
undying sentinel.
it's the noble sacrifice kind of thing but again they're turning themselves into an undead for a noble purpose. I think it's so so cool.
It's so different to the Dracula results. Like
It's really really different. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, the ghost dragon looks awesome.
I love the Ghost Dragon art. I love a lot.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks like the guys from Return of the King.
Oh, it so does. Yeah.
We got all of our different what's it? Oh, we got sea serpents like you mentioned a while ago. We have a thing called a lion drake, which I think is just really fun.
They're cool. I like them. Yeah, they'd be fun.
We have Draco Hydras now, which are really cool. We have deep dragons, which I think are awesome. They're like basically Underdark dwelling dragons. We talked about this like last week for some reason. But
immediately had an idea of where to put a deep dragon in my game as soon as I read over that entry. Like literally it lined up perfectly with something I've already established in my world, and I'm like, yes.
We do have a couple of Draconians here,
Yes.
which are I want to say they're a Dragonlance thing, if I'm not mistaken. They're not quite Dragonborn. They're like large. They look like them a little bit, but they're bigger.
They're
really cool looking.
as well, rather than they're they look like they'd be the bad guys in like an 80s kids cartoon.
Oh yeah, totally. Like you'd see them in an episode of Street Sharks.
Yeah, man. That's exactly what they look like. They look like big rotted out street sharks with wings. Oh, the Infiltrator art is amazing.
The Infiltrator?
Yeah.
Oh, for them, yeah. We also have this one. We mentioned dragon turtles earlier in the thing. And so there's just a standard dragon turtle in the monster manual, which is like adult sized. We now have wormlings, young dragon turtles, and now we have ancient dragon turtles, which I'm really pumped about because they're so cool.
We've also got
just like a big giant snapping turtle.
Oh man, and like the art for like a broken record, but the art for the ancient dragon turtle, so cool. Just this giant purplish maw.
You could totally reskin that thing and make it like an island, like
the lion turtles in Avatar.
Like the lion turtles, or like that mountain in Final Fantasy 15. Is it the Adamantoise?
The Adamantoise. Yeah.
And it's just a mountain.
It's like a 16-hour boss fight or something.
It's legit like a 16-hour boss fight. I remember watching I watched a clip of someone who had been at it for like 12 or something like that, and or they were hours and hours in. But it has this one attack that has like a knockback effect, and it knocked him so far away that by the time he got back, the boss battle had reset, and he had to start all over. And I was like, oh my god.
Oh, that's some Dark Souls level of punishing the player.
Yeah. It's one of those things like, rough out. But yeah, we have sea serpents, sapphire dragons. We have where's one?
There's dragon elves as well, which are distant relatives of dragons that actually allow people to ride them.
What are they called?
Dragon elves.
Where are they?
They are just below Dragon Speaker.
They look cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see these guys. That's awesome. And do you know what? They're not a ridiculously high.
They have flyby
armor class or challenge rating, I should say.
Yeah,
flyby. They're not a super high. Oh my god! I'm gonna have to incorporate these guys in the world.
I knew
these are really cool. They're just really simple, but they look awesome.
Yeah. The ancient dragon turtle art is just so good. Oh god.
Yeah. Yeah. There is honestly this is maybe the best, most comprehensive. This Dragonborn of Tiamat, who's basically like a fucking anti-paladin of Tiamat. There's so much here. This is easily the best bestiary we've gotten in the book in a long time.
It's like
maybe since Mordenkainen's.
I thought the Tasha's bestiary was quite good as well, but yeah, it's right up there. Oh yeah, the Dragonborn of Tiamat looks like he would like be the big bad in like Aragon or something.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of, it's a really, really good one. There's such good stuff in here. Everything is either dragon adjacent or is straight up a dragon. I'm super pumped. This is I still have to read through this. I'm waiting till I get my physical copy and I'll do a proper read through. I might even start tonight because I'm pumped after us going through this now. This is um, hands down one of the best books that's come out in a long time. I was really excited about it. I had my hopes set very high. I was not disappointed.
Yeah.
This was fantastic. But Martin,
Yes, Connor.
oh, sorry, finish that thought.
No, it's cool.
Okay. But Martin,
Yes, Connor.
that's all the time we have for today.
Oh man, I did like so much fun. It's always fun talking about dragons, but like this book is just so good, and like particularly for me, I have been looking for a good sea serpent stat block for quite some time, and yeah, like this is like pretty much right around what I would want, like the adult one, the ancient one rather, CR14. Like yeah, no, I really like how this look like. There's just so much in it. There's just so much in it that you can use, and even just stuff you can just spiral off into your own shit as well. Like it's so good. I've just been going through it randomly, and like we didn't even get to like the Draconic Horde items either, that are a whole other level of crazy.
We missed Magic items entirely. We might come back to them at another point because there is a lot of cool stuff in there.
We'll maybe do an addendum to next week's episode or something.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I think dragons are cool anyway because they give you this thing in D&D where dragons are one of the few creatures that scale well. Like you can use a wormling if you're very low level, or you can, and you can say it's bigger than it is if you want, or you can use an ancient dragon if you're very high level. Because of the nature of that, they're just offered so much. And honestly, I think I remember complaining about it a few weeks back, as I'm wont to do. About the fact that dragons, because they follow this a similar template, they're very predictable for long-term players. Most of these dragons, they kind of shook up the formula a little bit with a lot of them. Some of them have different speeds, like burrowing speeds or swim speeds. Some of them have spellcasting. Some of them have additional breath weapons. That they've honestly given each of these dragons a pretty solid level of diversity, so that you're not just changing the damage type and the color. They literally have additional abilities that they can use, which make them stand apart from one another, which is just really, really cool. I'm just looking at the Moonstone Dragon. It's really pretty.
Moonstone.
Yeah, the Moonstone Dragon. It looks all fairy-like and stuff. It's really, really cool.
Oh, that's class. That kind of reminds you of Cease the Scaleless from Dark Souls. It was like a crystalline dragon.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Martin, where can people find you on the internet?
People can mostly find me on the internet here on the Micflayers podcast. I almost did the Dragonborn podcast. Every Friday 6 p.m. Irish time.
The book is good, but it's not that good.
It's not that good, yeah. But other than that, you can find me on Twitter at So Sorry It's Over. That'll be in the bottom right hand corner there, and you can also find me on the Micflayers Twitter account at MicFlayersPod, which is also in the furthest right hand corner, along with other links. Connor, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on the internet at 0.Connor, ZeroPointConor, 1N, very important. I remember this week. A little thumbs up, thank you. And you can also find me here on the Micflayers podcast every Friday at 6 p.m. Irish time. We are available on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor Breaker, and Radio Republic.
Awesome.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please check out Fizban if you can. It is really, really good. Please ask your DM if you can play a psychically fueled Dragonborn warrior, monk, or Drake Warden. And yeah, definitely just have a look through this book, man. It's so good. And that's all the time we have, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, see you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.